Hello everyone, Silent here and welcome back to another Bedrock Edition tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how to build an ultra simple and reliable drowned farm for your Bedrock Edition worlds. This is an overworld only design that is extremely cheap and shouldn't take more than like 30 minutes to build in your Minecraft worlds. It gives you a trident roughly every 2 minutes, so that is going to be enough to supply basically any project that you need. Of course, this farm also gives you a fair amount of experience as well, along with nautilus shells, copper ingots, and some rotten flesh that you could trade to villagers for some additional emeralds if you felt like it. This drowned farm is extremely simple. All we have up top here is basically a giant water funnel. There's 2 layers of water, so all the drowns spawn in here. They get pushed down by the flowing water towards the center, and then they fall down the middle into our Trident killer. So we're automatically killing all of these guys, so you can AFK at this farm for as long as you'd like. Since we're killing them with a Trident killer, the looting 3 effect is automatically applied to every guy in here, and we're also getting experience from them as well. As you can see, we can pick it up through the corner. All of our items are automatically collected into our storage system as well, and as you can see, we get a fair amount of copper, tridents, and nautilus shells too. You'll get approximately 1,140 drowns per hour when using this farm, and because they have a very low drop rate for those tridents, that means that you get roughly 1 trident every 2 minutes of using the farm, which isn't too bad. That's about 30 tridents per hour. It sounds like a small amount of tridents, but honestly, you don't need that many tridents in Minecraft, and for how simple this farm is, you can't really go wrong. If you're familiar with my previous drown farm, then you'll recognize this monstrosity in front of us here. This is a lot more resource intensive, and it's an overworld and nether design. However, this one right here got 940 drowns per hour, whereas the tiny design I'm showing you how to build today gets 1,140. So the tiny new design is way better than this old massive design, which is fantastic. We're getting significantly better spawn rates with the new design thanks to a little bit of testing that we did on a technical live stream. So the previous design had a single layer of water, and drowns don't really like to spawn in a single layer of water. They much prefer 2 layers of water, which we have a little prototype of over here. Like, they just pop into existence way faster if you got 2 layers. That's just how the spawning algorithm works, apparently. So this is a prototype that would push them up and out, because otherwise the babies would get stuck if you had a flat platform like this. Prototype number 3, using the 2 layers of water, had slanted slopes with solid blocks. However, due to how mobs spawn, half of the spawning spaces on this are completely invalid. So we went on a little hunt to find what block mobs could spawn on and spawn inside of, and we ended up finding that ice blocks work perfectly fine. So this right here has all the benefits of having 2 layers of water and getting a very high spawn rate, and not having any lossy spawn spots, and not having any issues with the babies either. It's basically as good as you can get it as far as I'm aware. And once we found out that ice was the key to victory, it's really easy to toss together an upside down pyramid or just a giant funnel in the sky, and this actually works really well for getting you a large number of drowns with extremely little work. And the final piece of the puzzle is just putting a roof above the farm. We use leaves above the center, that way we get surface spawns inside the farm, and then the outside is just solid blocks and slabs, and that way you can AFK 24/7 and you don't need to worry about anything. What I'm showing you today is the ultra simple version that gets 1,140 drowns per hour. If you want to see a much nicer version that gets roughly 2,000 or more drowns per hour, then let me know in a comment down below, and I might make another tutorial on that farm. But otherwise, let's hop into the tutorial, shall we? In case you need it, there's a full materials list down in the description of the video. That way you know everything you need to build with. So the first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and find ourselves a nice bit of ocean. I'd recommend going about 100 blocks away from any form of land, and make sure it is an ocean biome and not something like a river. And then you want to go ahead and pillar up and get yourself a little bit of a 2x2 platform at Y191. This is going to put you 128 blocks above the ocean, and this is going to be your AFK platform. Now, it's not necessary, but I would recommend making sure that there's no chunk borders going through this platform or anywhere near it. It's not necessary, but chunk borders can break Trident killers if you are unlucky. So make sure that you're roughly somewhere in the center of a chunk, and if you don't know how to find chunk borders, check out the video in the upper right. With all the preparation for building done, we can go ahead and start building by placing in a couple of blocks right here directly above our center 2x2. Turn this into a 4x4 platform of solid blocks, and now we're going to go ahead and start placing in all of our pistons in these locations right here. just like so. Go ahead and fill in these excess blocks in the edges, and now we need a dropper in these 3 corners, and a repeater on 2 ticks facing away in that corner right there. We're going to go ahead and place a observer facing that repeater, and then an observer facing all of these droppers like so. Go ahead and get a solid block above all of these pistons, and that is basically the Trident killer done. We're going to go ahead and place in ourselves a stair block right there in that corner, and then we're going to break these 3 blocks right here. Now go ahead and place in yourself a double chest right there for some temporary storage. Place a hopper going into the back side of that chest by crouching, and then we're going to place in an upside down stair right there. That way we can actually open this chest. If you feel like it, you can place a couple more chests down below this with hoppers going into the back of them as well. And of course you can send this off into a proper storage system with item filters or whatever you want to do. Before we move on, we're going to go ahead and place a lever right here on this dropper and flick that. You should see all 4 of your pistons on the inside activate, and if you unflick that, everything should be working properly as shown here. So now that we know the Trident killer is working, go ahead and turn it off and place 1 water bucket onto that stair right there. That's going to allow our impaling Trident to kill the mobs quicker. And now it's time to build up the rest of the farm. So go ahead and place a slab on these 3 corners right here to prevent mob spawning, and then we're going to build up a tube of glass blocks going upwards by 20 blocks. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and go all the way up until you hit 20. Once your column of glass is installed, we can go ahead and start building up the rest of the funnel. So go ahead and place in 1 ring of ice blocks right here. Make sure that you're using actual ice. You cannot use packed ice or blue ice or anything else. It has to be ice blocks. And I would recommend building this during the daytime as well. That way you don't need to worry about mobs spawning on it as you're building. Also, make sure that you do not put down any light sources anywhere near this ice, otherwise it will melt, and that'll be a bad time, which is why I recommend building during the day. Before we start expanding the funnel, go ahead and place in 4 signs on these edges right here to keep your water from flowing all the way down. And now we're going to install a little bit of a ramp going up. So we need 12 rings of ice in total, and that is going to be the entire funnel. So keep on staircasing up until you have 12 rings of ice, basically. So you should have a staircase that looks a little bit something like this, and that is going to be 12 things of ice. Of course, you don't need these solid blocks underneath here, so you can go ahead and remove these if you want to. And now that you have that done, basically all you need to do is go ahead and expand these into little squares, and basically these are just going to get wider as you go out. So it's going to take a little while to place it all, but honestly it shouldn't be too bad because you're just making little squares. And congratulations, you've built yourself an upside down pyramid with 12 layers of ice, and that really is the vast majority of the farm done. Now that all that is installed, we need to go ahead and place in ourselves a railing of glass blocks that is 2 blocks high. So just go ahead and do one of these going all the way around the upper ring. And that is our railing installed. So now what we need to do is flood this entire thing, and that's actually really easy to do as well. We're going to place in a layer of temporary blocks above the very top layer of ice, and then we're going to put another layer of ice on top of these blocks. So this is your single layer of blocks, and then you just put a layer of ice above it, and that's essentially all there is to it. Just do that going all the way around. Once you have that layer of solid blocks and ice in place, just grab yourself a pickaxe that does not have silk touch on it, and then you can run around and break all of the ice blocks. That's going to turn them all into water, and you can't really mess this part up, so just go around and break all of it. And once you've broken the final one, that should be the entire thing flooded all the way down to the center, and now you just need to remove your layer of solid blocks without breaking the ice that is down below it. So just aim kind of shallow and walk along the edges like this. The final part of the build is installing a roof over it. That way it works at nighttime and you can AFK for as long as you want to. So go to one of the top corners of the build and we're going to pillar up by 10 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then on the 11th block, we're going to place in our actual roof material. We need a layer of solid blocks and a layer of slabs on top of that to prevent mob spawning up there. So the first thing that we're going to do is make an outline of these blocks going all the way around directly above that outline of glass, essentially. Now that we got this big old square laid out, the entire center of this thing needs to be filled in with leaves. So just put in a layer of leaves at this spot right here and fill in that entire square. You can use tinted glass if you want to, but it's definitely not worth your time. Leaves are so much cheaper and easier to get. And now to finish up the roof, we need to go to each corner of the build and go out by 6 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And connect that on the diagonal just like this. And then basically do that on each corner of the build. And if all 4 corners are filled in and like so, and now we just need to basically fill it all in. So fill in the little gaps right here and then connect them going all the way across to one another like that. And fill in all of the empty spots right here as well. Once you've filled in all of the gaps across the entire build, everywhere that you have a solid block, you need to put a slab on top of it. That way no mobs spawn on top of your roof. And that is your roof completely done, so now you should be getting yourself a couple of drowns spawning in the upper part of the farm, and you might even have some in your kill chamber already. The final thing to do is go ahead and break into your kill chamber and throw an impaling trident in there. Ideally, you would have impaling 5, but if you don't have that, then you can just use a regular trident. It doesn't really matter, but impaling 5 will kill them faster and help you get better rates. So just throw that in there, patch up the wall, and then you can turn on that trident killer and make sure that is working properly. So your AFK spot is basically anywhere on these 3 blocks. It is very loud, so you might want to turn down some of your game sounds, but otherwise feel free to expand this platform and build basically whatever you want down here. It's worth mentioning that you're going to be grabbing all the experience from your drowns through the floor. It'll just kind of magically go through those blocks and into your hotbar, so don't worry about it. If you enjoyed today's tutorial, then drop a like as it helps us out the video on the channel a ton. If you're new here, then maybe consider subscribing to help us reach 500,000 subscribers. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys down in the comment section and in the next one. And then there was silence.